Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, Master of Propaganda, Hero of the Reich, Defender of the Fatherland, and Bringer of News. We've got a new kind of news to preview up today. There's going to be lots of stuff today. Trust me, it will be exciting. In particular, there'll be one I'll actually be directly posting right here in the links, but there'll also be some other stuff, which I can't actually talk about yet because we haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure there will be. And to make it even more fun, and this is not quite as related, but still I figure since there's probably will be some Dawn of War 2 fans, or Warhammer fans in general, this is exciting stuff as well. Creative Assembly, the guys who do the Total War series, have gotten access to do Warhammer Fantasy. About damn time. Now then, on to the match, but again, yeah, lots of exciting stuff today. I mean, I'm like, oh goodness gracious, Christmas is coming early. And of course, I mean, if we get the beta soon as well, it'll be like Christmas and my birthday at the same time. They're not far apart anyways. We're talking like 5 days. Anyways, we are seeing Rifleman on the way. We're seeing Stobez fighting for the Americans, fighting for the 1st Infantry Division, charging ahead, screaming loudly. Probably not, that would rather alert the enemy. But they are facing the ever-Sphinxian complexity. A riddle packed up in more stuff. He is that complex. Fighting for the Panzer Elite, which he's rather known for. Fighting for the... oh, I don't know. Let's just casually say... Then... I'm a bit unsure. Let's just say the 2nd SS Panzer Division. We are seeing Rifleman on the way. Initial engagement out here. Panzers, though, caught out in the open by the Riflemen and are quickly pushed away. They are a bit outgunned in this state. Moving up to link up with the other Panzer gunners with the Gewehr 43. And the preview, though, actually mentions a lot of interesting stuff. We get some details about commander stuff. Apparently there'll be something called intelligence bulletins. That sounds a bit too much like Company News Online. Some sort of bonus, but at the same time I can also see the logic behind it. It's apparently something to encourage new players to explore more parts of the game, which makes sense. I know we'll see more about it, though. We also get mention of concrete trenches for the Soviets. How the Germans apparently unlock their higher tech buildings through officers somehow. Again, I'm a bit unsure about that one. Engineers have been on fire. Nope, rather the sort of dense fortification work right there. Engineer goes down. Complexity lining in from several sides. Nice push. More riflemen though are arriving, and rather Stobez is actually finding himself heavily limited. He doesn't require as much territory as the Panzer Elite does. We now do see a push in against the Panzer Grenadiers. Some of them though are in a slightly less fortunate condition, much closer up. And the others are quite a bit farther away, so this is actually a bit of a bad engagement for complexity. Yes, perhaps trying to make it out of there now, but now we are seeing Stobez pushing in, firing madly. Right, losing a few riflemen though. And there we go, Panzer Grenadiers almost wiped out to a man. And run off. And now the fight goes down to just a few riflemen and a few Panzer Grenadiers. Do see the securing this area, but otherwise again most of the map is currently in the hands of the Germans. We also in fact get a bunch of new screenshots in that preview, including some of the Elephant tank destroyer. I'm sure that'll get some people excited. And some other bits. Rather looks all nice and dandy in fact. We are seeing the Schwimmwagen pushing in, going for the harassment. Excellent job right there. Rather aggressive, but again, that is rather how you are meant to play the Panzer Elite. You're not supposed to sit back and enjoy a nice cold beer. You're there to sort of push forward and get back to a lukewarm beer in the afternoon.
Sector being captured.
Still going for the cutoff point. Again, nicely aggressive, though this has not been secured. We are in fact also seeing what Complexity Luxor does. He rushes straight for the armored car. Schwimmwagen, though, awfully poor condition. More riflemen moving in. 3 riflemen squads, one of them veterans C1, but also need to get out of there. And of course, that is one thing to remember as the Panzer Elite. You want to be careful because if you too quickly lose too many men, I mean, you will be giving your opponent a lot of veterancy. They basically only need to kill 3 Panzer Grenadiers, and he's veterancy 1. So that is vital to remember. Of course, also vital to remember that the Panzer Grenadiers, the Panzer Elite generally shares veterancy, of course. So there's some counter things going on there. Slightly more forward position now, slightly better hold. Needs to retreat those quickly because they won't be lasting much longer in any fight. We are seeing a 4th squad on the way, some engineers moving up the right hand side, and we're seeing more barbed wire. That seems a bit excessive. I mean, what's the word it's going to pass through here? Seems a bit curious. And we are in fact seeing a rather large column of Panzer Grenadiers moving up on the right hand side, staying close, hoping to perhaps avoid things, though this might have given them away. Yeah, possibly. It's actually a bit hard to tell, since I didn't quite look at it the exact same time. We do see it's a bit of a desperate act, actually, by Complexity, a bit of a bold one. Either way, because note, he's not actually reinforced all of his troops. Some of them are in a rather rubbish condition, and now we are seeing Stobez moving forwards, while Complexity is going for the medium fuel point, which is, on this map, pretty much the high fuel point. Which again also has something to do with, of course, the layout of the map. The resource over here are sort of less potent, but the other ones in here are on the right hand side. Difference is, though, this is much harder to hold, this is much easier to hold. And there we go, Browning automatics go up. We also see a lot of riflemen quickly going down under withering Panzer Grenadier fire. Another man bites the dust, down to 4-man. Panzer Grenadier down, another rifleman down. This is quickly turning sour. And there we go, the first armoured car out. We are seeing an attempt at wiring off here, but the armoured car doesn't quite care about that. And the engineers, on the other hand, are going to be forced to care about the armoured car and its auto cannon. 20mm of death. And we are seeing the Luftwaffe squad adding in, so he's clearly gone for the Luftwaffe, adding in some boys in blue to aid him.
Eyes on me, infantry.
Granted, of course, this would rather more signify that perhaps were other units rather than direct Luftwaffe field divisions, but nonetheless they still fought, partly because as the flag units they usually served in otherwise were blown up. Of course, they were sort of second into other units, basically as reinforcements. And in particular, that happened a lot to Luftwaffe troops throughout the war. Panzers here, they'll need to be careful, but they do manage to suppress the riflemen. Will the armoured car be able to roll in time, though? Sticky bombs up. At the same time, of course, Stobez knows what's going to go on. He also needs to retreat that fellow before he becomes mincemeat. And there we go, the autocannon unleashes hell. Well, not quite literally hell, but nonetheless quite unpleasant if you're caught in it. At the same time, Luftwaffe troops moving over here. They should easily be able to deal with the engineers. Against the Browning automatic riflemen, they will probably do less valiantly. I mean, they are somewhere along the lines of a regular full-scale squad in terms of combat effectiveness. The only sort of real difference, though, is they have to have less health. But on the other hand, they can gain some more impressive bonuses overall. So again, there are some sort of, you know, back and forth things. Pushing up there again, Stobez. Making a bit of a mistake here. He's sending in troops piecemeal. Something you should be very careful about, feeding in troops one at a time. Armoured car arriving. Panzers needs to retreat. Now we are seeing Stobez moving up. Complexity needs to pull the armoured car away. It's within sticky bomb range. 9 Complexity. 9. There you go, Raven pushing up. He's not pulling back. He's not pulling back. He's even got the Schwimmwagen there. He could lose a Panzer Grenadier squad as well. And there we go. Squad down. Sticky bomb on the armoured car. And oh, rubbish! It's immobilized in the middle of the road. And Heinz is just going, quickly, move it! But he can't! The motor is busted! Now the riflemen are moving in. Like some horror flick, where the poor bastards are caught out in a car in the middle of the road and a horde swarms in. This time just chanting, USA! 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 Anyways, besides social commentary, let's move back to the fight. I'm feeling particularly fresh today, as I'm sure you can imagine. Again, the preview, bloody exciting. And of course the news about Warhammer Fantasy. I mean, yeah, I'm also a bit of a Warhammer nerd. I mean, I don't play it, but I love this sort of background story. Certainly the atypical stuff rather than Lord of the Rings. The dwarves actually happen to be cooler. Even the elves a bit. Anyways, should be exciting. Plus, of course, there's the Skaven. Always funny opponents. And, of course, the Empire. Anyways, we're seeing a bit of fighting here. And he's getting pushed off. Schwimmwagen getting repaired. Another armoured car, of course, replaced the one lost. A Berger Tiger could perhaps pick that one up later on. Rather here facing 2 Gewehr 43 equipped Panzer Grenadier squads. Stobez slightly pulling away in the face of the Panzer Grenadiers. Luftwaffe troops are getting engaged out in the open. And the Raven here are suffering quite gravely. But usually the sort of Luftwaffe units that would have fought would either have been the field divisions, which in some cases were basically rushed in and slaughtered. Otherwise, they would have been part of Luftflak security units, which after the flak cannons were for different reasons abandoned, were joined up as infantry, usually also as reinforcement in some way. Again, it's not the stuff you sort of hear about a lot, just like the Osttruppen. But I mean, they did take part in the fight. In some cases, they were basically the only reinforcements available to some divisions. In particular, the regular infantry divisions rather found themselves to use these a lot, plus the Reichsarbeitsdienst, the Reichslabor Service, which had some building, you know, defences for Normandy, and which rather suddenly found themselves part of the army. But going a bit of nice harassment there, going for the victory points. He has been bleeding a bit, in fact, that complexity. We are seeing a second armoured car out. We do see he's not got enough munitions for an assault rifle, otherwise that assault rifle, the Sturmgewehr, could be something he could consider to turn against the Americans. The Luftwaffe repairing. And artillery! Second armoured car ready. Panzergrenadier getting a bit engaged. Might want to consider pulling out. Getting a rifleman. Hank went down. Offensive veteran G Panzergrenadier got to Gewehr 43. That is always nice. The armoured car rolls in. Has to be careful we do not see a repeat of armoured car number 1. Ravni, in fact, are suffering rather gravely. Panzergrenadiers need to get out of there before they become rather sauerkrauts. And the Ravni are just, getting mutilated and squared down, leaving behind a Browning automatic rifle for complexity to use. That's just great, in particular if these chaps were to get it. I mean, that with the offensive veterans in the Gewehr 43 would mean they would be pretty lethal bastards. And now we are seeing an armor car, and we see that complexity is largely unprepared, in fact. He does not have anything that can actually hurt it, except the flak feelings, really. And then it's only a bit. I mean, had there been the real war, of course, they would have shredded the Greyhound, so would these armored cars. But there we go, moving in and getting hammered by 2 flak feelings. Some of it bounce off, but also note, they also do a bit of damage. So that is, of course, something to note. The flak feeling saves the day. Look at that, Heinz. We did something for once. Yeah, but that's not the point why we got into the flak battery. Now is it? Oh, right. Securing the point here, of course, the army units, of course, would have had their own flak units, but usually the Luftwaffe was sort of large and would also be in the sort of the main proprietors of heavy flak batteries, in particular for the more regular infantry divisions. And they did provide most of the AA. In fact, once the Luftwaffe pulled out all of its anti-aircraft units, I mean, that's also where usually things really went sour for the Wehrmacht in Normandy. Right there around the Falaise Gap thing, which rather, of course, left them very much exposed to enemy air power. Again, something you don't also hear so much about. Greyhound rolls in. It's not been repaired, but we do see some armoured skirts. We see a mortar half-track up. We're seeing the Panzer support come out. We could soon get an anti-tank half-track. Ravni getting blasted a bit. Granatenwerfer unleashes the Granaten. Ravni is suffering a bit. We are seeing a veteran shot. Defensive and... oh, nice hit by the mortar. They can do a bit, but as you might have noticed, it's not exactly what you'd call highly effective. The mortar, on the other hand, if it hits, can actually do something. And there we go, anti-tank half-track on. We're seeing another Greyhound out. So clearly the 1st Infantry is laying out a small mechanized cover, motorized, to keep the Krauts at bay a bit. Since again, complexity is a bit lacking in the whole I can actually deal with armored bits department. At the same time, you might be seeing more on the way from the motor pool. Though it doesn't look like he's actually getting any replacement infantry, which is not quite to his advantage. Panzergrenadier, they're suffering a bit, and he also looks to be lacking munitions, and he's not upgrading it. And in fact, the upgrades seem a bit... come on, you've got some of your own under the wheel, and you just drive them over. Tisk, tisk. Anti-tank half-track is moving eastwards, not to support this effort. Rifleman going down to the armoured car. Luftwaffe troops following up to support. Mortar and go down. Oh, and the rifleman were caught right there, nicely pushed out. And there we go, damaged engine and immobilized. The engine is on fire. And Hank forgot to bring his thermos of coffee to at least have something to do. Armored cars here doing, I think, complexity. No, he's actually bombarding this area. Oh, there we go. Mortar hit damages in the engine. And the armored car here was lost as well. Probably very easy because he didn't have the armored skirts again. He might actually have been a bit too aggressive with the armored cars. And interesting enough, has not foreseen, of course, the whole anti-tank half-track response, which ought to be pretty much second nature to any American playing against the Panzer Elite. Ooh, Veteran C2 for the rifleman. Panzer goes up, pushing in. They might do a bit of damage. Oh, squad down. This is going terribly. Armored car pulling away. Could go down, could go down. But we are seeing riflemen pulling in. Oh, and the armored car's in a terrible condition. And we are seeing a bit of a mechanized mess. There we go. Armored car went down. Mortar round goes down. Misses. Luftwaffe troops pushing in. This is carnage. We are seeing some movement away, I've imagined, from the right-hand side. 2 anti-tank half-tracks up. I've been caught out in the open by the Luftwaffe troops. Armored car being a bit, complexity is rather pushing things here. Knows it's not got a lot of health left, but even then he's still going to push in and see if he can't do some more damage with it to give the Luftwaffe troops a bit more of a fight chance. And there we go, damaged engine. He just had to do it. But we also see an anti-tank gun. Oh, and there we go. He was a bit too long around and he got knocked out. And incendiary rounds go off right on the anti-tank gun, trying to desperately escape the inferno, and then proceeds to stay in it. Apparently they like the warmth. Schwimmang here getting caught. Oh dear, oh dear. Complexity is a bit under pressure now. He's suffered quite a bit. And proceeds to actually remain in the fire. And the Hank catches on fire. And that's just natural, spontaneous combustion. But how about all the fire, Hank? No, never mind. Hank, of course, having a bit of a British accent after the time he spent in London during his student exchange period. And the others really didn't like him. They thought he sounded a bit like a wanker. Armored car down just before the anti-tank, before it gets the mortar half-tank. And now the anti-tank is exposed. Luftwaffe troops get some veterancy. This is why I'd recommend offensive. Well, I'd recommend offensive because, you usually want them back in the rear, and then in that way, having a bit more, firepower for them, which having a bit add to fire, usually pays off. But there we go. Manning the anti-tank gun, so he has something a bit more solid. Not a bad idea. Schwimmang here, they're doing poorly. Though he's not lost one yet.
The enemy is seizing our territory.
But he is a bit in trouble. He could consider getting a Panzer Support Command upgrade and getting the Panzer IV. That would probably be what I recommend, actually. Would handle things nicely. Riflemen and such. Plus, it is a bit tougher than the Wirbelwind he also has access to at the moment. Plus, with armored skirts, it would not really be such affected by sticky bombs. But these chaps are getting a bit overwhelmed. There are not enough of them. Oiksug. Anti-tank gun fires away, and it's a bit exposed. Another armored car rolls out. Anti-tank half-tracks fire away. Getting a few riflemen in the process. The open fields turn into a slaughter for the Americans. And the anti-tank gun actually kills someone. Impressive. Tank depot going up. Rifleman sneaking in from the right hand side, and he goes for the Wirbelwind. And of course, for the tank depot in particular, that Wirbelwind will be a lot of rubbish. A Panzer IV, of course, is not going to win the war against anything from the tank depot, but it does stand a bit more of a fighting chance and can actually damage, say, something like a tank destroyer. So, in that sense, I think a Panzer IV would be slightly better choice. Of course, on the other hand, one could argue he doesn't have the fuel for it, in which case, of course, I'd have to concede. But even then, I think he should be trying at least. But there we go, Wirbelwind rushing ahead with its flak-feeling mount.
Enemy aircraft can now be countered with Wirbelwinds.
Enemy aircraft can now be countered with Wirbelwinds.
We're ready to go. Ready.
Other bits are also mentioned, if I haven't already mentioned, were like concrete trenches. rather sounds interesting. Hopefully a bit easier to deal with than the British trenches, which rather required that for something that was completely free. You actually had to expend quite a bit of munitions to deal with it, which I was never a fan of. But well, we'll see. I mean, there'll probably be a lot more details, and certainly Relic could probably, not just, half-ass this. No, oh right, we'll just add concrete trenches. Yes, that's brilliant, Duffy. Now go off to some fuel points and smoke a bit.
We're losing a fuel depot to the enemy.
So, of course, no reason to get all, upset already. And there we go, tank destroyer out, armored car down, one shot, and of course, in this case, complexity is rather, I would guess, a bit bollocks. Or he's American, so he'd probably say something like, oh dear. That's the typical American way of doing things. No, wait, that's also British. Oh, well. Gosh, perhaps, if he's into euphemisms. And the Wind also goes down. We do see the anti-tank half-tank. We see mortar fire going down, but this is not really what you'd call good news for complexity. We are seeing the Luftwaffe troops trying to screen a bit. Could there be some focused fire here? I don't think so. I don't think there's munitions. And sticky bomb on one of them. Anti-tanker moves in. Another sticky bomb. Americans are going down. They get into the house right next to it. That could actually be their doom. And the anti-tank gun actually bounces off. There we go. Oh, Luftwaffe troops took heavy losses. And anti-tank half-track suffering. Oh, this is carnage. Anti-tanker needs to escape. And a house right here blows up everything except the half-tracks, which are the intended target. And he doesn't have the command points for, say, get some Fallschirmjägers out, which could have salvaged this situation, saved him from the chaos. Which is actually a bit tragic. And now he's going to lose 2 anti-tank half-tracks. I mean, this is pretty much scotching complexity on the spot. And now he is, in fact, going for it. But again, yeah, he didn't have the fuel, so again, my mistake. Mea culpa. Certainly should not be giving complexity flak for something, of course, when he couldn't get the fuel for it. So, of course, that's silly me. We are quickly seeing the engineers, of course, getting pinned down. We're seeing grenades getting lobbed. Of course, the incendiary chaps. Grenade. I would recommend perhaps pulling back to a slightly less exposed position. Therefore, lost complexities. Rather than pushing up. Schwimmmark needs to consider relocating to a slightly less exposed position. Managed to barely escape. Oh, it went down. It went down. Rather than once we're pulling into the house. Again, anti-tanker needs to pull back. One swift push, and this could all be gone. But at the same time, I mean, Stobez is also bleeding. He's not got a lot of units left. He's, in fact, got 2 rifleman squads left and a few engineers. So it's not like, Stobez is off, whistling Dixie. I'm writing poems about how he's winning. And we're seeing a Bergetiger out. We're seeing complexity call it a Bergetiger. Fascinating. Bit of extra chief for the Panzerists, but they need to get out of there. Anti-tank and desperately trying to get away, but it's not enough. And Fallschirmjägers are called in. Infiltrating from a nearby building. FG-42 is being handed out. The Fallschirmgewehr, one of the sort of closest attempt at an actual assault rifles, although was sort of more of a battle rifle-like machine gun thing. Quite effective though. Although very short magazine. Only 20 rounds. So not so good in the machine gun configuration. Anti-tank gun cleared out. The Fallschirmjägers could perhaps consider getting into the house for extended lifetime, but that's not quite what's happening. Bergetiger berging the Schwimmwagen.
We are losing ground.
But complexity is definitely bleeding a bit. To put it mildly. Could of course push forward soon with some infantry, which Stobez is certainly also doing. He's trying to go for all the points while he's having a bit of a game here with securing points and harassing each other's points.
Americans are seizing territory from us.
Luftwaffe troops could add in some firepower again. Add some numbers in at least for the raw bit of it. Rather than getting stopped. Anti-tank gun getting recruited. Come on, Luftwaffe troops. Schnell. But apparently not. Mortar half-track though adding a bit to the fight. But Certainly things have been rather equalised in all of this. Another anti-tank up for Stobez. Not a Sherman, for example. That would actually have been a great move at this point. But there we go, the Luftwaffe troops are on the move. Raven pushed away.
The enemy is impacting.
Shame, Stobez. You could probably finish this off with a Sherman. And laughed at complexity. Of course, that wouldn't be very nice. But there we go. Complexity quickly beginning recovering what he can, including armoured cars. He could recover that one as well. He could recover the half-tracks over here, so this is pretty much going to be a chance for complexity to recover after these rather severe losses. And of course, Stobez could perhaps have done something the same. He had medic stations up, but he doesn't. Now, does he, Stobez? And he doesn't have the supply to upgrade either. Now, do we, Stobez? Shame, Stobez. Shame. Real shame.
Attention, the enemy advances.
And there you go, Ruffin quickly pushed away, not quite fancying a fight with the 2nd SS Panzer Division troops. Anti-tank gun pulling away, Ruffin anti-tank guns pulling up. It's the elite Fallschirmjäger, which in some cases actually during Normandy were actually rather close to actually being organised like a Panzer Grenadier Division. I mean, they were actually somewhat more heavily motorised than other units, plus had their own assault guns. In some cases, I even think the reconnaissance units were supposed to have half-tracks. Ow! He just got an entire Fallschirmjäger squad with a grenade. No, that just... And he got the armoured car. Oh, this is just quickly turning south for complexity. Anti-tank guns. Oh, nice push up there. Splitting things up. Rather unfortunate there for complexity. Probably wasn't paying attention. Panzer is though sorted out, but still. I mean, losing an entire Fallschirmjäger squad is not cheap. Of course, now we could consider getting a Panzer if we so wanted, but again, there's also the threat of armour, so we might, of course, get something else. And the half-track goes down again. Veterans 2 riflemen. Armoured car here wrecked, so it can't be recovered. Wonder where the Fallschirmjäger are.
Squad ready for orders.
Oh, wait, but I was actually supposed to go back to Stobez. My pardons. My deepest and sincerest pardons. I simply got so caught up in things, you know, again, excitement and all that. I do sincerely apologise for my transgressions. We are seeing riflemen engineers pushing up here against the Fallschirmjäger. Good solid hold on the infantry doctrine. He could soon call in an off-map combat group, which could prove to be the end of complexity if handled properly. Although complexity is doing what he can to sort of minimise overall losses, which again is good. Right here, run off by another Fallschirmjäger squad. This could be another loss for Stobez. And there we go. I mean, note he's not got a lot of units. Now we're pushing up there again, right into a Panzer, right into an armoured car. Although the veterans are free, rather than also moving in, these Panzers need to get into cover. And Deckung Männer and the armoured culture needs to get away. Oh, this is just going badly. Incendiary grenades right into the cover. Actually getting a bit kills there. Wrecked. Very close to the off-map combat group. And the Fallschirmjägers are left to hold the way, although they are a bit, again, exposed out in the open. And are quickly getting murdered by the veterans, the 3 riflemen. Again, he has to be... That was a bit unfortunate right there by complexity. And we are seeing butterfly bombs to be called in. Doing it in front of the enemy is not necessarily the best way. It works at most as a bit of a light distraction because, you know, sort of like bubble wrap, they just have to do it. But again, it doesn't actually, you know, do any damage to the opponent on that stage until, of course, it's hidden. Destroyed, and you know he's going to lose the Bergetiger. And the Bergetiger is gone. Also, note the Bergetiger wasn't actually used like that. At most, it was suspected to be actually some sort of demolition vehicle, but there was no actual recovery vehicle based on the Tiger. Sort of. There was one. This is slightly longer off, but there was on the Elephant, which was based on Porsche Tiger chassis, and there was a Berge Elefant made. In fact, 2, I think. But that's the closest you'll ever get to a Bergetiger. Ever. Fallschirmjäger sneaking out on the right flank, the only ones who actually seem to be surviving for now. And ambushing the anti-tank gun. Moving forward. And a tank destroyer. That's going to cause a bit of a mess for complexity again. But it is there, and Force Megers are getting crushed. Looks like they might get the anti-tank on crew. And they go forced away. I mean, complexity is holding most of the map, but overall resource-wise, he's been suffering rather unpleasantly. And he gets another Bergetiger out. Another. Well, one Bergetiger fails, another one will succeed in the Names des Vaterlandes. Anti-tank half-tank was trying to get out, but instead managed to knock out the treads and the engine. All the M10 butterfly bombs go off, and Panzers move in to assist and keep the M10 where it's supposed to be. Wrecked. And these rifle note, I mean, offensive veterans to free Panzer Grenadiers will go for the freeze. I mean, just shred riflemen. They were almost completely wiped out to a man. Armor needs to pull away. Managed to barely survive. And now the anti-tank half takes a bit of a problem as the fully repaired M10 rolls in. Interestingly enough, he doesn't seem to actually... Well, wait, he might actually bother with an off-map combat group, but it's not entirely... Doesn't look like it, though. So that's actually a bit of a shame, I think, on Stobez's part. Oh, and he lost another rifleman. He just loses so many. And a Bergetiger recovered. And now they're trying to get away, both of them. Looks a bit awkward. And Complexity's having a bit of trouble mustering a sort of final response. Huh. Bugged. Fascinating. Armored car trying to rush a bit here, but stopped by an anti-tank gun and put to rest. Bit of a shame right there for Complexity, who is suffering rather grievously. And... did you get both bags? You know, one made it back. One made it back. And now, of course, Stobez is trying to wreck that Bergetiger. He doesn't want it recovered, and of course he knows he has to wreck the wreckage. Yes, so they can't be recovered by his opponent. And looks like someone got killed, including Heinz, was thrown against the railroad car, or what remained of it. Wreck was wrecked. Complexity is mildly put in trouble. And mortar half tank also in trouble. Panzer's rushing in. Anti-tank gun firing away with glee. Rather than quickly slowed down, in fact suppressed viciously, and incendiary grenades are sort of out for the fun. M10 rushes in. And another Panzerfaust. I mean, so far the only thing really damaged this M10 has been the Panzerfausts. At the same time, Stobez is working hard to recover most of the map. Or most importantly, the victory point, because he's quickly draining down. Rather than moving up again across open ground against veterans of fleet, Panzer is quickly dropping, almost down to half health already. 40 Megers adding a bit. They've blown up their own cover and are now run off like they ought to. But lots of fun stuff, and again there hopefully should be more stuff on the preview today, or the previous today. Lots of stuff, and particularly new stuff has been also been teased by other players, so again, look forward to it. But it does seem like they are trying to apply some of the lessons from Company Heroes Online, mostly stuff that would make it easier for newer players to get engaged in the game, which again is fairly reasonable, I would say. In particular, if it actually involves, you know, some sort of extra layers to sort of help them try out new things. I mean, the example was apparently something about building lots of anti-tank guns, then you get some sort of intelligence bulletin, which somehow gives your anti-tank gun some sort of boost. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it sounds a bit like achievements, but with a twist, I'm not entirely sure again. I think we need more details. But generally overall we need a little more details on all of this. Rather than here on the run, setting off butterfly bombs, getting gunned down, and getting murdered by the FT-42's armored car that rolls in, probably from the Ultimate Combat Group. Mortars, anti-tank guns. Let's return to complexity a bit. Who's waiting for the Panther battle group now to save the day? Obviously. Let's speed this up a bit. Nothing seems to be happening. Nice push. Oh, he gets the armored mortar half-track, sticky bomb, and anti-tank gun wrecks it in short succession. And there we go, though. Panther battle group arrives. 2nd SS Panther Battalion sent in. Faulty Megers, though, arriving on the scene to clear up the anti-tank gun.
With only 100 points, the enemy must know he is doomed.
And the armored car is getting a bit of a surprise. M10 moves in. We are seeing butterfly bombs going down. Could he attempt to recruit the... No, he wouldn't. Though he could use the full Luftwaffe to recruit the anti-tank gun. Armor car going to go down. Anti-tank gun recruit. M10 pulling away. Veterans free rifle advancing. Panthers moving. Oh, opening up on the mortars. But at the same time, he could risk getting hit from here. If he's not careful, but of course he doesn't quite know what's up here, so I mean it's a bit, you know, a harder thing to sort of operate with while you've got more pressing matters like, say, a mortar. But I think he would benefit from getting his Luftwaffe troops to recruit that anti-tank and send them up in a more defensive rearward position. There we go, moving in, heading, trying to hit the flank of the Panthers, at least force the back rather than advancing up. Panthers less sterling against infantry. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not good either. Again, this is the sort of job where you have Panzer IV for. So, like, for the same reason, the Americans, despite at one stage actually being only given Sherman with 76mm guns, they still wanted Shermans with 75mm guns because they had better high explosive charges to deal with infantry that was dug in and such, which the 76mm, because it had a much higher velocity gun, also meant, of course, less explosive charges. And there's a lot of these details there. Armor car down here recovered. Complexity certainly sticking on like a trooper. And we are seeing Stobez actually going down to less than 100 victory points. Rifle almost down. We do see the anti-tank recruit, but not quite in a support position. Panther needs to turn about. What are you doing, Complexity? Get that anti-tank up in support. Tank circle go down, anti-tank and decrew, but there's still two. Mortar half-tank, of course, could assist. But again, that also seems to have been pulled away, partly because, oh, the gun's damaged, it seems. Huh. Pushing forward, I think this is a bit of a risky assault by Complexity. He's losing Panzer Grenadiers. Ow! That was definitely not good. He lost the veterans to 3 Panzer squad and a Panther. That is definitely not the sort of engagement that Complexity can afford in the fight against Stobez. Quite the opposite. Veterans 2 flamethrowing units, though, quickly getting engaged and run off. Interesting enough, there's not been a lot of mines from Stobez, which could perhaps have helped a bit. But this seems to have held up quite nicely. Again, our medic station will also help Stobez, and again, supplied upgrades, Stobez. Supplied upgrades. Speeding things up a bit. Waiting, waiting. Butterfly bombs. Anti-tank moving up. Mortar firing away. This is actually a nice mortar position. More anti-tank is getting recruited. Incendiary round, but flies a bit too short. Armor car trying to move up, but yeah, that's quickly going to get stopped by a half tank destroyer. Panther moves in, but gets fired upon by the anti-tank guns. Pull back, Complexity. Anti-tank gun decrew, but armor car went down. Bagatiga sent in to repair. There's return to Stobez. Main gun destroyed, and the anti-tank gun was never really in the fight, which is a shame. And the Panthers shouldn't have been sent that in there in the first place. And almost 1,000 manpower floated by Stobez. Just call in another off-map combat group. Just push in, get the job done. Of course, I mean, there's still a chance, of course, for complexity to save this if you can quickly recover both things. But another tank destroyer, another armor car, rangers and riflemen. Looking less good for complexity. His men are bleeding out. His panzers are getting blown up again and again. Tank destroyers rolling in, armored car rolling in. And there we go, the anti-tank actually firing, covering a bit better this time around, but there's only one, there's nothing else to support, there's no panzer traject or anything. Riflemen moving out here, mortar rounds flying in. Very close to recovering the Panther. Mortar half-track down, grenade going off, troops are getting suppressed, Panther recovered. Riflemen moving in, Rangers moving in. Main gun destroyed, Panther almost down. This is horrible. Luftwaffe troops just repairing. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What have you gotten yourself into, complexity? And there we go, anti-tank and recruit. Just the worst spot to have a Panther engagement in. And there we go, both Panzer lost again. We're seeing butterfly bombs going in a bit. Also again, the sort of late usage of it, which again results in a lot of them getting wrecked. Baggerty got immobilized and gone. And this pretty much means complexity is down to very, very, very little infantry. Sneaking in some Fallschirmjägers, and we're seeing Stobez is down to 16 victory points. 16! Of course, now complexity's only chance of victory is pretty much going for victory points. And of course, if he could sneak in something, well, of course, preferably using Fallschirmjägers, they're the best at this sort of job. But you know, infiltrate them through here, keep the opponent occupied in the center, and then of course hold it. There's a minimal chance he can pull this off, but again, he's taking a lot of losses, and that Panther engagement definitely was not well thought out. Incendiary grenades, a parting gift. Speeding things up again. And there we go, the Fallschirmjägers as throughout appear. Fallschirmjägers in the house. Quickly run off the Rangers. Going for the central victory point again. Rather desperately. He should perhaps have waited for the other troops. But he insists on it, using actually the slower capturing Panzer Grenadiers. And again, taking considerable losses in the process. He's holding most of the victory points. Armor car down, but more forces are moving in. 8, 7, 6. Very few victory points left for Stobez. And he holds it. He holds it. There we go. And at this stage, it's pretty much GG. So in fact, I'll just stop it there because I'm a bit busy. I've also got classes. I mean, I have to record this episode between classes in my break, so go figure. But again, game over. Nice play by both. I mean, complexity was really close to winning in this one, but again, the Panther engagement right here pretty much lost him it. That was not a good engagement. Should have used the mortar, half tracks, perhaps other things, perhaps attack from another angle as well. Instead, this happened. He ran straight into what would, I suppose, be called a pack front and got wrecked. I mean, Stobez, of course, could have done better. Supplied upgrades, that was a definite lacking. Medic stations, also lacking. And that would probably have made this a much easier fight for him. Otherwise, I think, again, if not for this engagement, complexity probably would have won. Other things, though, complexity could have probably done better. Was perhaps a bit more focus on Panzer IVs. Baggerty was nice, although in some cases he got a bit reckless in some cases with the armor cars, and I'm pretty sure some of them were not really good losses for those armor cars, but there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match, hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends, and if you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own? This is Imperial Dane, saying cheers.